time worship and our Bible is King James. We are strengthened in the things, we're strengthened in the things, strengthen the things that remain.
All right, welcome into the Strengthen the Things That Remain podcast. We're glad you're here and glad you're joining us this afternoon. Of course, my name is Bradley Boone, co-host here, Todd McKinn, brought to you by Escoda Pottery. We're out of Black Rifle Coffee.
Out of it.
We're out of it.
Somebody needs to call Black Rifle Coffee.
Somebody should email Black Rifle and say, them boys up there
are drinking all your coffee.
have drunk all the coffee and they need more coffee. We have with us today Brother Kevin Kemp. His ministry is called Sound in the Faith. And he does, just tell us what you do. Tell us what you do.
Well, so we are a helps ministry, helping churches with their media concerns when it comes to sound systems, live stream camera systems, any technology need a church has. If it's an internet distribution system across the property, saving churches money where they can support more missionaries, anything they need to help improve getting the gospel out is the main goal of the ministry. The Lord's allowed us to have a business where we were able to get our business license and get equipment where we can get high quality, good studio grade equipment for churches at cost. Amen. I mean, right here, it's a couple microphones. Brother Bradley knows about that. To help further the gospel, though, because the devil puts out millions and billions of dollars a year into getting his message out.
Right.
And we may not have millions and billions of dollars, but we got a big God.
Yeah, that's right.
And so he allows us to help churches further that dollar and get things done. We go assess the situation, make recommendations on what they need, and we'll install it. Don't charge them a dime to install, and we make no profit whatsoever on the equipment.
Talk a little bit about your qualifications. I mean, there's so many people have tried to do sound through the years,
Well, so my qualifications, they're all because of God. I'll go ahead and give him the glory right up front. I started at Georgetown Baptist when I was 8 years old, and people look at me like, no. Yeah, when I was 8, Georgetown put in their first sound system. My dad was the one putting it in, and I started mixing on a 2-channel mixer and a tape deck underneath the front pew at the front of the church. Daddy let me do it because I could get down there easier. So by the time I was 13, we had a sound booth that was built over the stairs. Every small church knows what we're talking about. The stairs going downstairs. Hey, we can put a platform over there and somebody crawl up into it. Well, the 13-year-old crawled up into it, and I was running 8-channel mixer and doing sound. By the time I was 18, I'd already done 3 tent meetings with Brother Lee.
Right.
And
Todd's got to get his phone here. That's the office racket over. Well, you got that thing programmed on, bro.
Nothing. It's just laying over there.
I mean, these people are going to be watching this podcast and going to be like, what is that? There's a plane.
I seen you looking like what was going on.
Well, I was hoping you'd turn it off with your watch.
Well, I didn't wear my watch today.
worried about time, brother.
Honestly.
Yeah.
You had one job.
I was listening. I was tuned in.
Not me. I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah. Two tape mixing under the front pew.
Oh my God.
2 tape mixing under the front pew. All right, bro.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
So, and I was helping my dad install sound systems at other churches. My dad was not a sound guy; he was an electronics guy, and so he knew how to make electronics work. Lord let me learn how to use my ear. I tell churches when we go into them, your sound man's not necessarily the most technical person. That's not who you need up there. Not all the time. Not that they can't do it by any stretch of the imagination. But I need somebody who can hear harmony,
Right.
and I can teach them to mix.
Yeah.
The equipment's the easy part. I can't teach somebody who can't hear harmony how to mix a room.
Right.
So Lord allowed us to. I worked for AT&T for 19 years. And it was Bell South at the time, but that was where he had me. And we, over the years, have taken all of our vacation time to go install churches, help them. And he told me it's time for you to leave AT&T, Kevin, after 19 years. And we knew it was time. Me and my wife both, we've been praying, Lord, what do you want us to do? And he opened the door 3 years ago for AT&T to offer a buyout for us to go to the house. Don't mean I get paid every week by AT&T or anything, but I was able to he gave us the ability to step out and to start the business and start working on churches more. And it was funny that year. I'll make this story as short as I can. We were in a meeting with upper management, and they said, "Y'all be prepared that you will not always be managers at AT&T." I already knew that. We've been praying about it, and I already knew I wasn't always going to be a manager at AT&T because the Lord told me, "You're not going to be here. I need you doing other things." Well, that was on a Wednesday night. My boss, for some reason, liked to have meetings on Wednesday night in Gastonia, so made for listening to live stream coming up the road back from Gastonia to get home. But that Thursday, me and my wife talked, and I told her about the meeting, and she said, "Kevin, did they ever offer managers a buyout to leave AT&T?" I said, "Yeah, but I've never seen them do it for anybody that's not retirement age. They want those retirement age managers, high paychecks, they want them gone." And that was on Thursday. Friday morning, they made the announcement that they were offering a buyout to managers of non-retirement age.
Yeah.
And so the Lord allowed us to step out and start helping more and more churches. And a year later, we were in a 5-week-long tent meeting with Brother Chris Hewitt up in Indiana. The Lord said, "This is what you're supposed to be doing." We had put off customers that we had with the business to continue in the meeting. The meeting was only supposed to be a week, and it went 5 weeks under the tent, patio heaters under the tent. It got nice and cold. But the Lord allowed us to step out January the following year and be full-time in ministry helping.
Amen.
You've done a lot of work for us here. I can attest that your work's great. Let's start with just some basic things on church media. All right. One thing that kind of was on my mind, pastors out there that may be watching, small congregation, strapped for cash. If you're going to invest in just a couple of pieces of equipment to try and help your sound at your church, where do you start? What's the?
A lot of that depends on the church. If you got a bunch of people singing, that sort of thing, you're trying to get that out on it. The end, let me say it this way, the end is where your means comes from. If you're trying to get the whole service out there, okay, when you're in live service at the church and sound goes bad, you guys know this, and it can affect the whole service.
Right.
So the first thing you want to do is cash is always the first thing that comes to mind. But you always want to you've got to do the best quality. You can't do the Amazon special.
Right.
The Amazon special will get you into trouble. It'll fail when you don't need it to the most.
Right.
So as far as what I would start with, so let's just use as an example. You've got a church they want to live stream. They have no live stream equipment. They've got a phone. How many churches have started with a phone live stream?
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what? I think I was the first. I think me and you, 2016 when that youth rally hit, they had just put the live button on the phone. Because remember we talked about, we're like, what does that even do? And I'm like, I think it will allow you to shoot a live video. Because we talked about how long can you stay up? Nobody knew because it's so brand new. We started streaming those services. Phones would overheat. We got ice packs. We'd pack them in them ice packs to keep them from overheating so that we could get the whole service. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, but the one thing that you're lacking on that phone, what was it? Sound.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with streaming with the phone. I tell churches this all the time. Look, start with the phone. That's great. There's a couple things. Hang on, where did I lay my phone? I want to borrow your phone for a second. So this is not the way to stream.
Right.
I mean, I hate to say that, and I've got a missionary friend that he 100% agrees with me because he edits video, does all these fun things, and you've seen it on the news. All right. Right. Somebody's out live streaming a situation that and the news media's got a hold of. What do they have to do to that video to make it fit your TV or to fit your computer screen? They have to mask something on either side of it.
Right.
So first thing, if you're going to stream in church, there's nothing wrong with the phone. Turn that thing sideways.
Right.
If you're out streaming outside, turn it like this because you're going to get a true field of view like a camera would. The Lord allowed me another opportunity to be on a video yearbook staff when I was in high school, so I got to learn how to use cameras. And this right here is critical. You're taking photography, sure you want to flip it and do different angles stuff, but start with the phone. But before you say, oh, I'm just going to start with the phone, we got to have an audio interface. Let's get good quality audio, because what will happen is a lot of times the video will be picture perfect quality. You won't have any issue at all. And it'll be the best picture on the planet. Nobody can hear what's going on.
Yeah.
It sounds like fish in a barrel.
And nobody's going to listen to it.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to listen to it. I mean, they might try or attempt, but it gets frustrating.
Exactly.
And
when they get frustrated, I don't care how good the video is, you're going to shut it off.
Yeah.
So we start with a good microphone.
What do you like, an iRig, or what do you like on
Well,
that?
so iRig was one option. Facebook has changed some things on us in the past little bit. I've had churches with iRigs. When I say Facebook and Apple together have changed a few things where you can't use an iRig with it.
Really?
Yep. Every time
We
you start-
used one for years, and anybody wants to know what that is, it's just an adapter that plugs in the bottom of the phone, allows a 1/4-inch cable to plug in so you can run your sound into your,
You can run a mic into it, sound, whatever. Simplifies things really quick. That aside, getting a good quality audio into your phone, and there's technical things that have to happen sometimes to do that, just to get around that Facebook problem, that's a critical step, because people will watch a bad video all day long if they can hear what's going on.
Right.
If they can't see it, no big deal. But if they can see it and they can't hear what's going on, they're just going to shut it down. If they're there for any kind of content at all. And that goes back to, we're not high class. I mean, y'all know me. I'm not a high class guy, but, got a good pastor friend of yours and mine, Brother Jonathan Barker, they've made the statement, we may not be high class, but we need to do things first class for the glory of God.
Right.
And there is nothing more true than that statement. And whenever you're doing sound, so you're going to start out at a church, and okay, I mean, I know of churches right now that they don't have sound systems. There's nothing wrong with not having a sound system. Every church does not have to have a sound system. But if you're going to further it beyond the four walls of that church, then you've got to start looking at a sound system. Does it have to be a full Persona Studio Live 32-channel digital board to start? No. But always take the time to get something quality that you can utilize and grow with. Go
Let's talk about end product just a little bit. You've already mentioned streaming, and I want to go back to that here in just a minute. But I can recall when I first started, of course, when I first started preaching, we had a tape deck in the back, and those quick copiers, copying tapes, people standing handing out tapes.
Yeah,
Then we had
8
CDs.
tracks. Yeah.
I ain't that old.
Oh.
Then we had a big CD tower, we copying CDs and scribbling on them with a marker and handing them out. Now, in new vehicles, nobody has a CD player. But I couldn't tell you the last time that anybody even asked for a CD. Now, that might be because my preaching's not that great. But people stream things.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Everything's going digital now.
Everything has went digital. And all of the newer board manufacturers, they have a digital recording option, whether it be a USB interface to a computer, an SD card slot, a USB slot, so you record it straight to there.
And once you record it to there, what do you recommend churches to do with it? How do you get it out there?
The best way to get it out there, especially if people are requesting, so you've got your posting capabilities of posting, audio, sermon audio. There's one location right out the gate, and they're more than your church will get it. If you have the ability, which in the world we live in, cloud storage is in abundance. You can get a Google Drive, you can get OneDrive. There's so many different mediums out there where you can upload it to. And anybody who wants it, you give them a download link to it, and they're able to download it. Posting it on your website. Not every church has a website. There's a lot of churches that came away from websites because A, they have to be maintained, and B, Facebook is much easier to maintain. I'm not saying every church needs to have a Facebook page because if they're not going to maintain that, then it's just nothing but dead air. Same thing with a website. But putting that media online where it can be gotten to. As a matter of fact, this week for camp meeting, I've recorded everything digitally. I haven't put a thing to CD yet. Now we are, of course, all the services right now are available on YouTube because we've been streaming to YouTube. But the sermons and the singing stuff, we're going to make that available through a cloud storage where someone can download them. Still going to do CDs because we have some folks. You've got many generations in our churches now. You've got your old folks who they don't know anything but a CD player.
Right.
You say thumb drive to them, and they're like, I can't drive with my thumb.
Right.
You know, that's not in their wheelhouse. So you've got to be prepared to go both ways, but you're not in the mass production of CDs anymore.
Right.
You can pop it in the computer, turn it into a CD in a free editor called Audacity. You can turn it into a CD real quick and burn it out of the drive, and somebody's got a copy of it.
You know, we do sermon audio here. As a matter of fact, this podcast, one of the platforms it's on is sermon audio.
Yes.
We upload everything we do to sermon audio. I'm continually amazed. Every month they send us an email and show us all the countries that our messages have been downloaded in. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Thousands and thousands of times across the entire world download from sermon audio. Of course, this podcast, I found a new platform. We use Buzzsprout, I believe is what it's called, in order to get us out on Amazon Music and get us out on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. What I found out was there's a lot more to that, really, getting a podcast set up like with Apple.
Oh, yes.
It's, you know, Buzzsprout is a hosting service that makes it a lot easier, but still there's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah, they're a middleman that allows you to interface to multiple different platforms. And same thing with, you know, when you're talking about live stream stuff, there's Restream and several others out there that you can stream to it and it'll push it to the other platforms.
Right. And that's the beauty of sermon audio.
Mm-hmm.
With sermon audio, you automatically go on Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. They've already got that that streamlined out.
And it is geared towards the crowd that we are normally getting our information out to. However, we still need to be pushing towards the worldly platforms, and I say that because the more we withdraw from it, the more the world takes over in it. And I mean, how many people go through Facebook Watch and they'll just have stuff pop up in their feed?
Yeah.
They don't have any clue. A sermon might pop up in their feed, and that might be the only witness they ever see. You know, just and it's sad to say, but that's
It's true. Yeah.
it's real. And you know, I don't believe that every church needs to live stream. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Not every service needs to be live streamed. Some services are just to that church.
Right.
And the Lord knows when that's going to happen. And the sound man sitting back there trying to keep the live stream up, and it won't come up. Sit down, relax, and listen.
Yeah.
I've been there in that seat. I've ran sound for a very long time. I've been the guy that's got burnt out because I didn't have the equipment, I didn't have the knowledge, didn't have the skills, that sort of thing.
There's a lot of people. A lot of people don't have the knowledge or the skills. Don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
You know, get online, Google a few things, try to look it up, try to research it, and really have no idea where to begin. And some people just throw some things together, and it's really not a good setup.
Yeah.
You know, one church that I pastored, they actually got a guy to come in, and he installed a sound system, and it was not a good setup to begin with. And I've often said that the sound man in the church is one of the most important men in the whole service.
Right.
But it is important we get our sound right. I mean, that's so important.
Yeah.
That's so important.
And in the day we live in with the technology we have, there's no reason for the sound not to be good and repeatable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the years gone by, you know, you get your young guys back there, and they're back there, and they're getting bored. And say, what's this button do? And things go bad. You know, that's unfortunately one of the worst things. We are guys; we like to fiddle with stuff, right? But you know, the way it is now with the world of digital boards, and I've been putting digital boards in since the 90s, and people don't realize they've been around that long. I have nothing against analog. Analog in a church has its places, but anytime a church can go with a digital setup, it makes it to where if the sound man's not able to be there, it don't matter. People can fill in for him, you know, and things can and repeat it because there's stored settings, stored scenes, just like in the computer.
So that's so critical. I don't how many churches. I mean, I've been to churches before, and our sound guy in here, we're not recording tonight, or so forth and so on. Yeah.
Yep. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's back to your question about, you know, where do churches start? What do they? Like I said, the end game is the beginning of it all. But if you're just needing to record good quality, you need a good quality board. And it doesn't need to be the Amazon special. You know, look towards Yamaha. Behringer is not the best quality, but you can get into a less expensive board there. I'm not going to sales pitch anybody in particular, but I'm not a Behringer fan. Been around them. They make some good equipment. Boards were not their forte. They were one of the computer interface people that allowed you to record the computer. Personas does the same thing. Yamaha makes great equipment, but beyond the name on the equipment, how easy is it going to be for somebody to learn to use who is not in that world, who doesn't live there? Is there enough online supporting documentation on that piece of equipment? Does that company say, hey, here's how you do this with our board? Right. But good quality mics and a good quality board to start. And it doesn't have to be, a 32 or 64 channel board to start. A lot of times churches, when they invest in sound equipment microphones, you're looking 20 years before they're going to do it again. And at the end of the day, if they do the math as to how many services are in, let's just do 10 years. All right, so we're looking at 52 weeks a year. And this is not special services. We're looking, let's say 150 services a year. That's 1,500 services. All right, so that's 1,500 services they put out there. How many dollars per service did they spend on their sound equipment?
Right.
It's the math can equate out what we did. We invest in a cheap microphone that we're going to replace parts on every 2 or 3 years. Things are breaking, or we're having to buy a new one. Or did we invest in one that'll last 10 years? And we paid $150 for this microphone, even though we paid $60 for this one. I mean, the cost savings are like, oh, wow, that's $90. But how many times do you have to spend $60 in that 10 years? So that's the other part of when you're doing this, you've got to be a good steward and count the cost.
Right.
And it's not just that immediate cost. It's that.
Well, and this podcast is a living example of that, because I tried to cut corners when I started. I bought a nice camera. We're still using the same camera, and it was so expensive.
I said we need mics.
Shut up.
We need mics.
It was so expensive.
He said, but I got these mics. I said, call somebody that knows what they're talking about.
I bought the Movo mics. And I didn't even buy the individual.
Where'd you get them
all
at?
in a pack, Amazon.
Thank you.
And some of the podcasts were great. The sound was great, but it was not repeatable. We'll put that. Mm-hmm. And so finally, I talked Todd, and I was like, Todd, we gotta get some mics. Todd, that's a lie. I can't even lie like that. I can't even lie like that.
Yeah, I know better.
But I got Kevin to bring these mics, and boy, people have been a lot more satisfied with the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and a part of it is what it's designed for. I mean, these microphones, they're designed for what we're doing.
Yeah.
They're designed for a podcast. That lapel mic from Movo. I mean, I've seen them work great for a single guy. For somebody recording to the phone, it's designed for that. But again, it is the Amazon special. That mic head is not made by people who design mics for a living. It's made by a company who says, "Oh, we're just going to repeat what they did," but they don't get it. There's that, So there's little things, and I'm not going to get into electronics, because I get into electronics and frequency response and a bunch of stuff other people ain't going to get.
It's already sounded to me. It's key to get somebody that knows what they're talking about, that knows sound,
Yeah,
right.
that knows what they're talking about, that knows about mics, what they're used for,
right.
how they're used. We were talking. Some churches, even small churches, they don't need a great big system.
They might not even need speakers.
Yeah, they may not even need speakers at all. Yes,
yeah. I've walked into small sanctuaries before, and speakers big as this table, and I'm like, it's overkill.
We didn't come to bless you; we come to blast you.
Yeah. But somebody recommended that to them, no doubt, and they bought that.
That's it. They went to the local music store.
Yeah.
And the local music store, what are they there for? They're there to make money.
Yeah.
I mean, now that's not to say that they're trying to swindle anybody or anything of that nature, but church sound versus a worldly concert, they're two different ball games.
Right.
I mean, people have seen this as they drive by a town square, and there's this big platform set up and a big rack of speakers on either side of it, and they can shake the windows 2 miles away.
Right.
And there's churches don't need that kind of sound. Now, is there anything wrong with the equipment they're using? No, it's just the design and setup of it.
Well, I think a lot of times some churches, and I've seen, I've probably been guilty of this myself when I pastor, that you spend money on things that you really didn't have to spend money on.
Yes.
When you could have, you could have bought cheaper speakers and spent more money on your mics, or but you just didn't know.
And that's the other thing is there's, I've seen cheaper speakers that cost less money that can sound better than some of the high dollar stuff.
Right.
And that goes back. It's not always about the dollar amount. It's about knowing the quality of the equipment, and not to me at all. The Lord's allowed me a different skill set. We're a helps ministry, and He's allowed me to have a knowledge in a lot of things regarding that. I'm by no means the end source. I can promise you I learn every day.
Right.
If I don't, I'm dead. I mean, that's if you get the right equipment, invest the right money into it, you are going to, in the long run, do things better. You're going to be able to not worry about it. I know pastors right now, they walk into church every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday night, worried to death what's going to happen with the sound system.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's this is going to sound awful, but the pastor should never have to worry about the sound system, period. Shouldn't even be his job. He's got too big of a job to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And not that he has people in the church that understand everything, every in and out, but it's just like deacons and their jobs and their roles and what we put them in versus what the Bible says about it.
Right.
There's things that the pastor shouldn't have to worry about. That's what the deacons are there for.
Right.
And that's what men of the church are there for, because I know churches that don't even have deacons. So at the end of it, getting the right equipment for that church. And it's not just for that right time. I want to qualify that, because time changes over and over. Is this piece of equipment you're buying going to be able to grow with you? Or are you going to have to chuck it to the wayside? I'm going to use your Movos for an example.
Right.
Where are they at right now?
Over in a pile on that table.
And have they been used since you brought these out?
No.
So, and is there, technically, is there anything really wrong with them? No. They could still be used for things, but they're not useful for growing. You can't grow with it. So if making sure a system's going to grow with the church, if the church is expanding, building a whole new building, okay, you're going to have to change some things. You're going to need different speakers. There's a lot of times I walk into church and they've got an old, I know of a church in our area right now, over in Spruce Pine, that has a board. It's a 1970s model PV board. Mm-hmm. And we got it connected to a $2,000 PTZ optics live stream camera. And it's working like a charm.
Right.
It ain't that the equipment has to be brand new. It has to be functioning right and doing right and tuned right.
And set up right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of times churches I'll run into, they have problems, things aren't tuned right. Now if things are popping and cracking and there's typically something wrong at that point. But you don't necessarily have to have a brand new latest and greatest digital. It just needs to be set up right and tuned right. And everybody gets in there turning knobs and it gets untuned. That happens. So,
right.
But that's, at the end of the day, I want a church to come out with what's going to get the gospel out for them furthest and the best.
Let's talk about that real quick. Live streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us some cues or some ideas on how to be an effective live streamer of services?
Well, so we've already touched on the quality cue. Good audio being quality. The first hurdle most churches have to overcome, and not all of them, it depends on location, is what kind of internet speeds do you have? Do you have the speed to put out an HD quality stream to begin with?
Right.
And if you can't get that speed from a service provider, there's no reason to invest in all this high dollar equipment to try and stream. Mm-hmm. The industry standard right now for an HD 720 stream, which when we're talking about 720, 1080, 4K, when you're talking about your TVs and how the resolution, they've got 8K TVs now as well. That's the latest and greatest. But Facebook, I'll use Facebook for example, they only want a 720 stream. That's all you can input to them. You can't give them anything higher. So to reach that HD stream, you've got to have internet speeds of at least 2.5 megabits per second. And that's consistently. And
that's the upload speed.
That's the upload speed, yes, not the download speed. Everybody says, ooh, I can download lightning fast. ISPs, internet service providers, take and they give you a chunk of download speed. You can have 100 megabits, let me say that right, megabits per second, and only have a meg upload.
Yeah.
Right.
And that has to do with technology that I'm not going to try and explain. They focus all their stuff towards that download because most people are streaming and downloading. The people who are uploading are content producers,
Right.
And gamers, things of that nature. So it's not about what we call ping time.
Then how do you drive the numbers? Once you get it up, how do you drive the numbers?
Okay, driving numbers, you get there. Sharing it to everybody. I mean, you've got to get the shares out. But once you get the shares out, you create the page, share it to everybody, get people to like the page, follow the page. That triggers some algorithms of Facebook. But once the content's up and running, you get at least 4 people with 4 comments. And the Facebook algorithm sees that. And it starts pushing it out to Facebook Watch, things of that nature. The more comments with more words. These one word, amen, praise the Lord, that's not enough.
Right.
You've got to give it more content than that.
A lot of, and we've streamed for years. Like I said, I think we're probably the first one.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of people that watch.
Yep.
But a lot of them will do the little hands up emoji over and over again down through there. Amen, like you say.
Yep.
Over and over down through there again.
Well, and so the other thing you look at, all right, let's look at YouTube for a second. Your YouTube producers and content producers, what they do, they sit there first thing or last thing. Hey, y'all, like and watch the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. The more you, and it's that's. Let me think of the way to say this. We're not the world, so we're not going to get up there and say, "Hey, y'all, everybody, get your phone out, like it, subscribe it, and share it." Now, at the same time, and when it comes to the tent meetings that we're involved with a lot with Brother Chris Hewitt, we'll get the live stream up and going, and before service time, he'll pop up there and he'll say, "All right, everybody, you're never going to hear a Baptist preacher tell you this. Get your phone out,
right.
Share it, and get it out there." And it's not about sharing it, getting it out there for Chris Hewitt or Hewitt's for Revival. It's about getting the gospel out there. And how many of us have lost friends on Facebook?
Right.
Yeah.
So you share it to your Facebook friends, and there's a chance they'll look at it.
When the pandemic hit, of course, when everything shut down, those people scrambling, trying to do live stream and trying to figure out ways to reach the people. And our church, we done that. And first couple times we done it, we had a lot of people watching. Mm-hmm. Of course, that time, nothing to do. People were sitting around.
Yeah. People
were scared and things of that nature. And anyway, we decided to have a revival. And so we just met at the church every day, my pastor and I, and we took turns preaching. But we had a couple people saved that was sitting around watching Facebook, and they got saved. And one of them lives in a few hours away, but they're going to church where they live at. But one of them is faithful to our church, has been ever since.
Yep.
And it's definitely an avenue
Right.
to reach people. And not only that, but shut-ins, people that's not able to come.
Yeah, we've got people that watch our services that can't get out, and they watch every service. Mm-hmm. And my phone is still connected to the church's Facebook page, so I get, even though there's 10 administrators that do different things with it, but I still get the messages like everybody else, all the other 10 administrators. And if we're even 5 minutes late getting up, my watch gets and it's our regular Facebook watchers saying, "Hey, where you at? Why ain't the live stream up?"
That's it.
So it's important to them.
It is. It's definitely important to them, and it's just like the situation we dealt with everybody having to stay at home, and churches trying to get to live stream as quickly as possible. My pastor, Brother Jimbo, he has said, "Brother Kevin, Geek Week has arrived," and that was true.
That sounds like Jimbo.
Yeah, and the number of live stream cameras and systems we went and put in between March and now, they doubled. That's 100% honest. I think last year alone, to the end of December, from March to December, we did 18 PTZ cameras. And for those people who don't know what PTZ is, it's pan tilt zoom. It means it's a robotic camera that you can move. I know I've said that before, and people are like, "What's a PTZ camera?" So I have to catch myself, and it's not dumb it down. I know people just don't understand the world I'm from.
Unnerd it.
Unnerd it, yes, exactly.
Unnerd it.
Simplify. Unnerd. Are you calling me a nerd, brother?
Would you not define yourself as a nerd?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
When these kind of things excite you.
Well, they do, but
No.
it's just like, I mean, I've seen a number of churches that were not able or didn't know what to do and just didn't do anything, and a lot of those churches have shut doors. Right.
One question: do you think it would be better? I've seen churches limited budget are trying to. Would it be better? Would it almost be better for them to wait, store up some money?
I believe so. There's just like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong starting with the phone. There are phones with great cameras on them. You've got to have someone who's going to be dedicated to get in there, set the tripod up. Because the phone ain't gonna be able to sit in the back of the church because unless the church is just really short. But there's great phones out there. But take some money and invest it in an audio interface, whether it be a board that has a USB output on it and a USB connection to the phone. I've seen, these microphones are an analog going into a mixer setup that are connected to the camera. They have another one out there that is a great microphone that plugs straight into a phone. And you're talking about $120.
Yeah.
And it's worth every penny to get the thing up there and use it.
I was thinking there as you were talking about the microphones and the different interfaces, and that's your ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's your ministry. And if you got a question about what to do,
yeah,
here's your guy.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I will say this, and Brother Bradley knows this. We are so busy, I guess is the right word.
Sure.
We are so busy that sometimes we can't always get right back with somebody.
Right.
And it's not that we're trying to ignore. There's so many mediums anymore to contact people we'll get Facebook messages, we'll get text messages. We have a Google Voice number that things go through. We get voicemails there, phone calls, messages through it, emails, and if you can imagine trying to maintain that with me, Mama, and 3 boys, and be on the road too, because we travel quite extensively doing this.
Man, we've come a long ways. I was thinking that last night at camp. Matter of fact, I mentioned it to you. My first year of moderating camp, the PA head was under the pulpit. And so that you had to get the sound right before you walked down there and sat down because there was nobody to adjust it unless the visiting preacher was going to do it. Poor old Jimmy, he had an old cassette record deck that he wore on a strap around him that had a silver microphone plugged into it, and he'd hit record and he'd follow the preacher. This is legit.
Yep.
He'd follow the preacher everywhere he went with that microphone.
You are telling your age now.
Recording it to that cassette. Well, it's not that it was that long ago.
Oh.
We were just that far behind.
Okay.
We are in Yancey County.
Yeah, they got a pipe.
So what is the best way to get a hold of you, brother?
So we have the best way is probably email, and it's right there on the card. But it's soundinthefaith@pm.me, and that is an email account dedicated just to the ministry.
And we might just
Can you put that up with the new software?
I've got some new software that I'll let you help me figure out how to run after a while. And we might just put that prayer card right up there.
So do you have a website?
We do have a website, but our website is for the business, so it's not really up to date. There again, it's Sound Solutions of WNC is the name of the business. And when I say that, we don't do business anymore. We haven't. We maintain the business and business license to be able to keep the discounts and everything and relationships to help churches.
Yeah, and that's a blessing right there within itself. I'm sure there's a lot of cost saving there.
There is. We can turn around and. It's just like, the cost of these microphones versus if Bradley were to have went and ordered them from one of the big companies. I'm not going to mention names because they're all the same. But if he'd went and ordered them, he'd have paid 20% more to get them.
Oh yeah, sure.
And 20% it goes to, oh, we could get a fourth microphone.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
here on the beta card, Kevin posing, got that leg forward.
Yeah.
That ain't me. That's our photographer. Yeah, and then
Well, he's trying to put his best foot forward, get you
There
the
we
best
go.
Oh,
sound that he
There
could
you
possibly
go.
get.
Good looking family, just Kevin messes it up.
Hey man, you know how many preachers tell me that?
I love you, brother. Hey, just get in touch with him. Like he said, he's got months and months empty, these things to do. Call him night and day. He'll be there the next day.
Yeah,
I've never called him that he didn't come the next. No, that's a lie too. He's busy. It's going to take him a while, but it's worth.
Well, let me ask you this:
worth the time.
I don't know how you you're set up or exactly what you do. If somebody contacts you, if they call you, if they get a hold of you, whatever, it could be, hey, can you just give me some pointers here? What I need to get, what I need to order.
We can do that. I mean, that's over the phone. Talking. If I need, we've done churches in North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Georgia, Indiana. So you can imagine if I'm traveling to Oklahoma, I don't need to make a survey trip to Oklahoma to find out. I mean, that's not being a good steward. So, we actually did a video call with the pastor, walked through the church, saw what they had, what they needed. We're able to get, for the most part, I can generally tell right out the gate what they need. And, some churches, of course, I have to physically show up, troubleshoot problems because they're having in the wall wiring problems, things of that nature. But that's not always the case. But, they reach out to us on email. We'll schedule up time to call them and walk through and consult what they need. If they just need some equipment, and they've got some know-how with a little bit of over the phone help, we can help them hook it up. I mean, last year I installed 3 robotic streaming cameras and never touched the camera. Walked people through how to do it. We remoted in from the computer, programmed everything up for them remotely, set it up, and gave them an over the phone lesson on how to do things, and they're running great with it.
Amen. That's wonderful.
Well, we appreciate you being here. We hope that you enjoyed the podcast today. Be sure to like, share, comment 4 or more words.
Yeah.
We got to have comments of 4 or more words. So let's see. Bradley is awesome. Really?
I was thinking
And
Bradley told
Bradley
a lot of
needs
lies
to-
today.
How about Todd's losing his hair? That's 4.
You know what? There's 2 of us and 1 of you.
Yeah. That's right.
God bless y'all. Remember, until next time, string the things that remain.